Everyone, welcome to the part 15 of the Option Basics web series. And this web series is created to create, is designed to create awareness in options basics. And if you do not know the basics of options, you can start from part 1, and that would be much more easiest because I've tried to make the basic series as much as simpler for you. So in this video, I will be talking about what is an open interest. It's also in short form, you will also known as OI. And this is a very this is a term which is very frequently used in options and also futures trading. But here we will be talking about in options trading. However, the meaning, the interpretation of open interest remains the same. So open interest is a particular number that tells you how many contracts, futures or options are currently open in the market. So there are always two sides to a trade. That is, one is a buyer and one is a seller. So for example, a seller sells one contract to the buyer, and without a seller, a buyer cannot exist, and a contract doesn't exist. So a buyer is basically said to be long on the contract. That means he's buying because he's long on that contract, and the seller is said to be short on the same contract. So basically, whenever a trade happens, one buyer and sell, that's basically known as one trade, and that's known as one open interest. All right, so let's understand this with a small example, and so that I can make my point very clear. So some one buyer actually has 6 futures contracts. He wants to buy 6 contracts, and B actually also buys 4 futures contracts, whereas the third person actually sells all those 10 contracts. So there are 4 buyers. There are 2 buyers with 10 quantity, and one is a seller who is actually selling everything. So once the buying and selling is complete, we have 10 contracts in total, which is nothing but 10 open interest. All right, so open interest is 10. Now, the reason why it is open, because the buyers have not sold it. The buyer A and B are still holding these 10 contracts. As you can see here, it's interpreted as names. Now, on the second day, the seller C wants to sell 8 more contracts out of the 10 contracts that person holds. And John, he comes into the market and takes on all these short contracts from her. So that's basically, he bought everything. So now you should realize that this transaction did not create any new contracts. So that means the person who wants to get rid of these contracts already has these contracts. So this was already counted in the previous transaction. So it will not be counted as a gain. All right. So this is just simply a transfer from one person to another, and the OI will not increase in this case. So as you can see here, now the third day, wherever there are new contracts created, that means buying and selling takes place apart from these contracts. That's when open interest is created. So if I want to tell you from this option chain data here, this column, the last column on the call side and the last column on the put side. This is on the call side on the left hand side, and on the right hand side it will be on the put side. These are open contract, that is every new contract. It could be a buying or selling, which is completely new. So the amount of these things, the quantity what you see here is not a new. It's everything is new open contracts. And change in open interest is because when there is an increase in open interest. Now you would understand. Now, after understanding open interest, you will know why people talk about OI or open interest and why this is valuable in this contract, and that's how there is another contract called put call ratio is also calculated. Again, so this video is about open interest. So open interest is nothing but it's a number that tells you how many futures or option contracts are currently outstanding in the market. It would be a new. It is not. It does not mean it is the transfer of one contract to another one. That is not the one. Any outstanding open contracts which are available in the market is known as open interest, and that's how it is basically calculated. So that is more clear on this, and so OI and volume interpretation. So open interest information tells us how many contracts are open and live in the market. Now volume on the other hand tells how many trades were executed. So basically, if you look at here, the third column will be volume, and this volume is between trades. So that means if the same contract is being exchanged between one person to another person, that will be known as trades. That will increase the volumes. But open interest is actually a different data. Many people think that these are the same data because this is the volumes traded, and they confuse it with volumes traded and open interest. Now you would see in the difference. Now you hope you would have understood the difference between when the contracts are being exchanged traded between buyers and sellers. That will increase the volume here in this column here. And on the open interest is the open interest which is outstanding in the market, which is open in the market. So unlike volumes, the change in open interest does not really convey any directional view on the markets. However, it does give a sense of strength between bullish and bearish positions. As you would see here, I've spoken about this before. If there is an increase in price and increase in OI, open interest, that means more trades are on the long side. When there is decrease in price and decrease in open interest, that means the longs are covering their position, and that's also known as long unwinding. That means they are closing their long positions. If there is a decrease in price and increase in OI, that means there are more trades on the short side. This is also known as short build up, and the first one is also known as long build up. Now increase in price and decrease in OI are basically shorts are covering their position. This is also known as short covering. That means people who were shorted the position, they are actually covering their shorts. So as you would know, whenever you are covering your shorts and you're increasing the demand, the price will increase, but the open interest is decreasing because these contracts are getting closed, and that is the reason this particular lesson about open interest and volumes are very important for you to understand. Hope you have enjoyed this informative video on open interest and also a little bit about volumes. If you still have any questions, feel free to ask on the comment section, and be happy to clarify them for you. Thank you, and I will see you again on the next part.